Good morning, everyone. We are at the shop Saturday morning. We're gonna get to work. Today, I got some maybe lofty goals, we'll see. I got about 5 hours to work, and I am going to sacrifice the original frame right here. I'm gonna end up cutting about a foot section out, and we're gonna weld it into the bad part of the frame right here. So first things first, for stopping in, thanks for watching. If it's your first time watching, leave a like, it's free and I'd appreciate it. And also give me a subscription if you like the project and like where we're going. So I'm gonna take this axle. I need the wheels off of it, so I'm just gonna set it up on the frame. That's the first thing I'm doing. Wheels are gonna go on the back of here. And like I said, I'm gonna end up taking a bunch of measurements on this frame, but I'm gonna take the old favorite tool in the world, Sawzall, chopper right here, chopper right about here, and then we're gonna do the same thing in this area, and we're gonna burn her in. So I did some preliminary measuring from the edge of this weld right here to here, and they're pretty much the exact same. So as long as I cut them in the same spots, I realistically can only be about 1 millimeter off if I come in the same spots. Now, I'm going to end up measuring from that back cab mount to here and make sure I get that spacing right. And then the nice thing is that with these plates being like bad and me having to weld plates in there, I can play with the cab mount just a little bit if we don't get it like within 1 millimeter. So we should be able to, but you're taking a Sawzall, you're cutting an 1/8 inch out, you're cutting an 1/8 inch out, so you're gonna have, 1/4 inch to play with. So we'll see how it goes. First order of business, get that axle up, and then I'm going to wire up the welder. My dad graciously loaned me his Miller 180 auto set. This is a really good welder. I have welded for hours and hours and hours with this thing. So we're gonna get that set up. I gotta change the plug on the end of my cord because that plug is for the lift and for the air compressor. Other than that, let's get to friggin' work. I'll catch you guys in a little bit. Alrighty guys, reorganized shop a little bit, getting ready to start slicing frames. A little daunting, but like I said, we're just gonna measure from here to there, get the spacing, write it down, maybe take a couple other measurements, and we'll land it close enough. I have a couple things I've done. You're just gonna be able to barely see it, but the axle's sitting on top of the frame out there because I am tired of moving that thing around. You would think a nice sealed up black, because I spray painted it black, axle, 200 bucks, doesn't leak anything. You'd think it would go fast, doesn't. Anyways, that's out there, chilling. I also pulled out this guy, which you guys might have seen kind of sitting over here. It's a LQ4 from an 01, I believe. 01 or 02, 1500 HD. And I was just kind of saving it in the corner. I bought it, was originally gonna put it in the regular cab. And then I found the one out of the 05 with the Gen 4 rods I wanted to use instead. But this thing's in okay shape. It's got a little corrosion on the outside of it. But anyways, it is, my buddy's gonna come pick it up. All right, just doing a little measure 18 times, cut once, because if you've ever seen me make a wooden workbench, it's not pretty. So kind of writing down some stuff on here. So passenger rear front, cab mount to back of passenger front. So I measured essentially from this little clip right here to that mark right there. And so that got me 39 3/8. And then I told myself right there that I'm measuring from essentially right here out 5 inches to get to that mark. 5 inches to get, or 5 3/8 from back there to get to here. So that's gonna get me this way. It's also gonna get me front and back, left and right. And then you can see I measured in between the two frame rails. That's 36 and 3/16, they're 13/16 inches. So I measured essentially right in front of the weld, kind of right where my finger's pointing to the inside of here. So that'll get me my distance there. And then also I did some secondary measuring. I put $1 on the fact that that was either a lawnmower or a freaking moped. Anyways, so I got this little gray tab here, which I made a mark on the frame just to signify it. And so I measured the front, where the front of the cab mount is welded to, and also, well, this is technically the front and where the back. And I did those measurements and I left them on there because of course we're gonna be cutting them out. But that just kind of tells me, hey, where's the pad mounted to? And also this tells me where's the cab mount. So not only do I have frame to frame measurements, but I also have cab mount to cab mount, and then I got left and right frame to frame. So hopefully this is enough to get me to match it up close enough that I can weld my pads in for the cab mounts. I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna cut out this old piece first so that I can figure out if I cut here and if I cut here, do I have enough metal, good metal up in here that I can weld to, or do I need to keep going? And then once I get the final, then I'll cut it out of there. All right, guys. Let's hope this goes good. I'm gonna do the old cut once and pray. All right, guys, so got a little concerned there for a second. I had to think for just a minute. I started to cut this, and then as I was getting towards the bottom and I was just about to punch it all the way through, I noticed something that was a little concerning to me. The top cut started to get really wide, and you can see it is just a little wider at the top than it is at the bottom. So the blade thickness is expected, right? But there's quite a bit more than blade thickness there. So essentially what I didn't take into consideration is the fact that I am cutting this and I still got all this weight out here, and it started to just kind of separate and open up at the top because there's weight pulling on it this way, and it's supported back here, one support up there. So anyways, just me stepping on it seems to close it up quite a bit, and I'm okay with that. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one more measurement just to make sure we got this all sitting good and pretty. I'm gonna measure from that gray tab where I've been measuring everything to the edge of this mount, probably like right here, because that's a sharp edge versus this is a rounded edge. So I'll probably measure to here, and maybe that guy too. But essentially what I wanna do is, I didn't really think about it. I was thinking about getting this thing perfect. I need to make sure that I don't affect the front end of this truck. So having that twisted up or twisted down is gonna affect the alignment here. Now, could you take most of it out with a little control arm adjustment? Yeah, you probably could, but I'm not trying to hack anything together here. So I'm gonna take a couple more measurements and then we will get to lopping this thing off a little more. Alrighty guys, I am back. We officially have this cut out, which is pretty exciting, but also pretty freaking scary. So one thing that I think I would have maybe done differently in the future is I probably could have welded a bar here and here going straight across and then put some bracing in between it so that it would prevent the frame from potentially moving, because it doesn't really move now. But there is a little bit of movement that could happen. So maybe would have secured that better, but this is the piece that we got out. I'm glad I'm going this route. Now, the one thing I could have done differently, I could have left the top part, because the top is actually still really freaking thick. So if I left the top part in there, what I would have had to do is I would have had to cut the cab mount off and then basically slice the frame halfway. And I figured that with this way, not only can I make a whole weld around and it's going to be a little easier to weld, but also with it looking like this, I wasn't really sure how much. You can see my original plan was just kind of to cut this out, but I wasn't sure how well that would work. I knew this would work, just lopping it out and putting the other piece in. So I'm going to take this, and what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna cut this back side out, and then I'm gonna cut this bottom side off, and then we're gonna go lay it on the other frame and figure out where we need to cut that one. Hey, I'm just checking back in with you guys. Got the old piece of the frame, got the piece of the original frame cut out that we're gonna use, and it is substantially thicker than what we had. So that's cut out. Fun fact, it does still sit on its own without that piece in there, but I'm sure without the transmission crossmember in there, it'd be a little ugly. So not exactly sure what we're gonna do about that. But here is our new piece that we're gonna set in here. Well, burn in here, I guess. I'm just working on getting it all lined up. You can see I got some clamps in here. We got a nice bevel to weld in. So she's a little tight right there, which will get taken up. I'm gonna start doing some measuring and trying to get it to land where it's supposed to for this. Aside from that, everything seems to be going pretty well. I will maybe set up some time lapse, but check in when I get some more work done. All right, checking back in with you guys. I have been spending quite a bit of time getting this lined up and beveling the edges and stuff. I wanted to make sure that we had enough gap to throw weld in. So this is kind of tentatively where it's gonna sit. I've measured out my two spots here on the pad, and they are extremely close, if not almost perfect. The front part is 43 right on the dot. The back is like a 1/16 of an inch off, which maybe the pad's just a little wider. But like I said, we're gonna play around with that when we put the actual plates on top of there. So that's not the biggest deal, but there's plenty of room to throw weld in there, and it has plenty of gaps. So the last thing I gotta do before I can tack it in place and then do like some final measurements is just get my plug on my wire, and we're gonna start burning stuff in. Hey guys, checking back in with you. Well, catching back up with you next day. Yesterday, my buddy did come and take that 6-liter from me. So we are now down back to 1 6-liter. I had plans for it, but honestly, I don't have plans for it within the next 6 months to a year. And his just blew up, and he was looking for one. So I let him have it. Well, he bought it from me. I didn't just give it to him. But anyways, so that kind of got away. My afternoon got away from me. We were catching up and stuff like that. So we're back the next day, and I'm going to tack this thing in. Everything's measuring pretty much exactly how I want it. I stopped and got all the necessary stuff to hook up the welder, made my own plug, that kind of thing. Made a converter so that I can unplug the welder and immediately plug in the lift without rewiring anything. And so I was just doing some measurements on this yesterday, and it wasn't exactly lining up the way I want it. Funny thing is, I let it sit overnight and now it's like lined up perfect, which I don't know. Maybe someone came and helped me overnight that I'm not aware of. So the welder's hooked up. And I just kind of did a really quick test pass to make sure everything was looking good, make sure the gas was all purged through the line. That weld's a little high for what I'd like it to look like. I'll probably turn it up just a hair, but that weld looks pretty good. So try and turn up the power a little bit and get it to lay a little smoother. But I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing that I'm pretty happy with is the fact that back here, you can see the two frames are pretty much dead even. And also up there, they are lined up really good. And so of course, they're also lined up this way really good. So really happy with how that's looking. I think I'm gonna just throw a tack on the top in one spot and a tack on here in one spot, and then take the clamps off. Or maybe I'll throw two tacks, whatever, and take the clamps off and then do a little more remeasuring, make sure I don't gotta smack it and convince it with a hammer. And we're gonna start burning this thing in the next time I see you. All right, guys, just tacked this thing in. I'm gonna let it cool, take some measurements, and I think this is kind of where I'm gonna call it for this video and today. It's looking really good. I did have to turn it down just a little bit because I ended up burning through. I kind of forgot that it's the most thick at the top, and then as we get down to the bottom, it does taper a little bit. And this piece is really good, but it does have just a little bit of what, I wouldn't even say a little bit of what was going on there, but it does have a little less metal in the bottom than the top. So I did need to turn down and it burned through there. So I'll have to fix that, which isn't a big deal. It's not like working with wood. You can put metal where there ain't metal. So it looks really good. Happy with how it turned out. Pretty happy with my gaps so that I can lay quite a bit of bead in there. And I think this is pretty much where I'm gonna call it. So thank you very much for watching the video. I'm super excited about this because once we get this done and we get the pads mounted for the cab to sit on, we're gonna paint this thing and we're gonna start freaking making visible progress. I know there hasn't been a whole lot of progress just yet. Kind of hard to visualize and stick with the project when you haven't seen any of the cool stuff yet. So thanks for watching. If you have watched all the videos, I really appreciate it. If you could give a like, it helps a lot. And if you could subscribe to watch this thing eventually doing all-wheel drive freaking donuts and burnouts and all that cool stuff. So thanks again. See you guys next time.